Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of What's on Your Shelf. I'm excited today to say that What's on Your Shelf turns 1. What's on Your Shelf turns 1. We began this amazing podcast exactly a year ago today, and what a beautiful journey it has been. What amazing guests we've had on the show. What insightful conversations we've had on this platform. Thank you so much to you two, my viewer and listener, who've journeyed with me over the last 1 year, celebrating every moment, going through the tests and the tries. And there are places where we went to that were not so conducive for recording. There are places where we went to, we had amazing conversations and had amazing people surrounding us. It's been a beautiful experience. What is it that has stood out for you in the episodes of What's on Your Shelf that you've watched so far? Which would you say has been your favorite? Which one would you say stood out for you? Because today, myself also, I'm going to journey with us as we relive some of the beautiful moments and beautiful conversations we've had on this podcast. So don't touch that dial. We've also had very good partnerships with the Nuria bookstore and also the Kenya National Library Service, who've also made it very possible for us to keep going because of the encouragement and the amazing support that they've given us over this podcast. And I am excited to say that I'm looking forward to what the future looks like. As also, we'll be reliving some of these moments, and I've also added a few things on my shelf that I'm going to be talking about. But just to start us off, have a listen to this.
I grew up in a very, linear way. You're in this family, then you go to school, and we had a lot of taboos. Our culture is rich, but also there are also those things that you now as an adult think about. So like many African girls, I went through the system of, the sex education that we got back then was, you speak with a boy, you get pregnant.
There
and
instantaneous.
Yeah, so it was a lot of fear, in you. So it's really something you're really scared about. Looking at a boy and getting pregnant, speaking even much worse, shaking hands. Hugging unheard of. Yeah, so and then of course you go through school, you transition, you're just supposed to somehow stumble about this knowledge. You just know things, you're expected to know uko nje, utajua tu somehow. So and then you go to campus, and then now you have this bit of freedom. You, like you mentioned, you're the CEO of your life suddenly.
You're the finance director.
And then if you went to school back in the day and you got government sponsorship, you possibly have help, so you have money. People used to act like when during that week when people would get help, they'd be like, I'd step on you and pay you. So it looked like, so now you're the CEO, you are, you have power. With money comes power. So you are, and then after, in that process of schooling, higher education, you're expected to meet a young man somewhere, a nice, decent young man from a good family, God-fearing.
Yes.
And then you meet this guy, and then you have a wedding, and then you live
happily ever after.
Yeah. No, you give us children. No, you're not done yet.
Okay.
Yeah. Give us children. Mix the genders.
Be very strategic with
Be very strategic. For the love of God, give us a baby boy. Okay, so there's a lot of that. But then the how or the knowledge with which to, or how to approach these things. How, I went to an all girls, at some point, all girls boarding primary, and all girls secondary. So how the hell am I supposed to know? From where do I get them? How do I know how to even relate with a boy? Yeah. I mean, for the basic fact of not even romantic relations, but for the basic fact of
Actual
coexisting in
coexisting,
society, because
yes.
you're so drawn away, you just relate with people of your gender, and then now, there are these guys and they're saying things to you, what are you supposed to do? How are you supposed to, what do you say? You're just told,
Yes.
do not speak to a boy.
And nobody came back to unlock that padlock they locked and say, you'll get pregnant.
Exactly. So it's not unlocked, and then now you get married. Then you're supposed to figure it all out. And I thought, of course, now with a better understanding of where our parents were coming from, I am kind of I think they thought that maybe, that maybe we'll just know things, yeah, without it being spoken about, in my community. You cannot even say the word sex in where people are. It's like such a taboo.
I can even see you struggle to say it even here.
Yeah, so it's, and all these taboos, and then suddenly you're thrown home, or you throw yourself rather, into this marriage,
and you're supposed to be an expert to
you're
understand.
supposed to be an expert, and give birth to kids, and well, it's a lot. So there is a lot on. I speak to the culture change. I come from Kisii, where one is Luo, so there is that. Landing in Lowland, and my God, yeah, it's a bit funny. Some people say it was funny. I didn't feel like it was funny when I was writing, but some people say they laughed at some aspects. Just like, oh my goodness. So this is how you people live.
Who teaches us how to deal with loss?
I don't think we're taught how to deal with loss, because ever since we're children and with our education system, it's like, uko namba? Then you're also compared to, look at Fulani's child.
Yes.
They're winning in like mathematics and whatever. Or you, even in church, like how you're behaving. Or why are you not going to sing in front? And, things like that. Yeah. Why are you not doing all these activities in sports? You have to be the best. And you don't know how to deal with it. Because the moment that you feel loss, it's like you get depression. And even, I think the word depression for me is like a thing I knew maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago. Mm-hmm. Growing up, you'd have those moments of depression, but you did not know, what was happening to you. And the thing is, with loss, when you're not taught how to deal with loss, you don't know how to pick yourself up. There are people that I know who were not A students in high school. They were C students, D students. Yeah. They ended up like finding themselves post-high school. And they are in industries of some of those subjects where they failed. But you see, they had to figure it out. So we are not taught how to deal with loss.
You say something very interesting. That if you're not taught how to deal with loss, it becomes very difficult
to pick yourself up.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that is the situation that most of us young people today are going through?
That's why we indulge. We don't know how to deal with it. Because, so I've lost a job, I've lost, I don't know, whatever. How do I deal with it? I'll indulge. I'll go to extremes. I will, it depends on what your extreme is. Yeah. Is it extreme drugs? Is it alcohol? Is it overindulging with relationships? Because you don't know, you're trying to figure it out. And as I say this, I don't know how to deal, I know how to deal with loss, but I have my moments of extreme self-destruction where I'm like, oh shit, I am actually really heading to a wrong path. I need to figure myself out and come back. But then that's why for me, I am very careful with who is around me, because I have to say, I lay myself bare. This is me. This is how much of a mess I am. And I don't know what to do. And if I don't talk about it, I'm going to go to an extreme of something that I don't know whether I'll ever come back from it.
Yeah. My dad is one of those people who would sit you around. He does that till date. When I was like 14, 15, I would feel so bad, like on a Leah, where he would just gather us around and he would give us a hymn book, distribute the hymn book, or rather printed out pages, and he would sing for us the song that we will sing when he's dead. And to some people, it would be like, your dad is so toxic. Your dad is so, traumatizing the kids. No, he's telling you that there is a time where I won't be there. And as soon as you're born, you've signed up for that. It's just the when. So the fear of death is something that has been removed off my life for quite some time. So illness is what I fear the most because it kills your capacity to perform at 100%. And everything that I do, I want to do with my strength and might. So of the ghosts, I fear disease most. I fear illness. Me not being in full potential. Imagine having something like brain cancer or skin cancer. Something that eats you up so bad, you're dysfunctional. Imagine having dementia. All these things we've mastered, gone. That's my biggest fear. I used to have the fear of old age, but I'm like, we signed up for it as soon as we were born. You and I have aged together in this podcast. I'm glad we did that. We've just aged together in this podcast.
Yes.
And with this time
Yeah.
that we are having, we are in here, fixated in this moment.
Yeah.
And that's how I dealt with anxiety.
Yeah, and of course, even you can share with us your thoughts on these conversations, because some of them are things you think about later and really, really internalize the depth of knowledge that we've also experienced on this podcast. And also, just to say, myself too, over the last couple of weeks, I've had a few additions onto my shelf. And currently, I am reading Sharad Rao's From Jomo to Uhuru, Rao's 9 Lives. This guy has seen it all in the Kenyan political justice and security ecosystem. But also, I think one of the key things that to where I've gotten to, I've not finished reading it. One of the key things that I really appreciate is how he's documented history, because he starts from the time his father, the mother actually was very aggressive activists who also had been jailed in India, and he starts that story from where the parents are still in India and the mother being released, and then now that is the time where the mother now and the father, they take one trip that brings them to Kenya. And you really appreciate the diversity that we have as a people. And I'm looking forward to the final stages of this book. And I'll be happy to share my review. But at the same time, I'm really, really amazed at how much work some of the people had to put in to ensure that we have the country that we have today. And even those of us who are today in this space of leadership, I don't know how much we love the country. I don't know if at all that patriotism that people used to talk about, that the Mau Mau used to talk about when they were fighting for liberation, when the likes of all these traditional chiefs and the people who were journeying towards independence, the passion and the love that they had for the country. I don't know how much of that still exists in our ecosystem today. But we've also had people on the show who've shared very great insights on this early development of the country, people who've read extensively on the history of this country. So have a listen to this. How far back does your memory or your interaction with the history go?
It goes as far as my grandmother, I can see. Because he usually shares the story to us with photos. We have even photos of Kibra where before the urbanization came. Yes, and we can see the changes from that time to now.
How much change has happened?
A lot change. A lot has happened, especially on these rivers, and where majority where my family used to live. At now where the estates are built in Kibra. In Kibra we have like 4 estates. My grandmother used to live in Olympic, where she was married to my grandfather. But Olympic, they were told that Olympic is gonna be built to a modern housing by the government back in 60s. That's when they were moved out of Olympic and they were pushed back to Karanja when the institutes were built already. And they were asked to produce their LR number, land rate number, so that they can be given the houses. So that's when they lost all the other lands when they came to the modern house. So majority of the Nubians lose their land to the government when they accepted to go back to the modern house. Yes.
Wow. So what's your pride point of being a Nubian?
We still live with the philosophy that our forefathers were warriors. And being a warrior, on my extrovert journey, I believe that I can conquer anything. So I'm really proud of my forefathers because I believe I'm a conqueror too. I can conquer any challenges in my way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kibra is a Nubian word. What does it mean? And how do you relate to it?
Kibra is a Nubian word that I think it has lost meaning now because the word Kibra means a jungle. But if you come to Kibra now, you no longer see a jungle at all.
It is a jungle.
It's an iron or a
Iron sheet jungle.
iron sheet jungle.
Yeah.
You can say we don't call it even a concrete jungle because most of the houses are not made out of concrete. Now.
Yeah.
Yes. So the word Kibra means a forest, but you cannot see the forest in Kibra now. Yeah.
Sometimes I struggle with the thought when you think about that Nubian. We'll get to the books,
Yes,
and I'm really keen, and I love some of the titles I've seen on your shelf.
Sure.
But I'm also just keen to understand from a new generation Nubian.
Yeah.
What are your struggles? What are some of the things you go through?
Identification is the biggest challenge in every Nubian family because they know immediately after you finish Form 4, you have to bring some documents. If you don't have the documents, you'll have to adhere to the law, go and maybe some majority of people hide. Majority of people share other relatives' identification so that they can get identification. Like if my grandmother doesn't have an identification, I can use my someone else identification as long as she is a Nubian or he is a Nubian, so that I can get identification to work with.
From your understanding, where did this problem begin? How did this community end up struggling to identify themselves, yet they were settled here before even independence? Yeah.
I think it's the problem begins when the Nubians were never given a proper document by the British government on settling here in Kenya. So it means they were played. And being played, they are like asylum seekers in Kenya. So in order for them to be integrated to this community, they have to swear to the government allegiance so that they be part of Kenyans. Because if the British left our grandfathers here in Kibera with a proper document showing that these people were moved here and this will be their land till years to come, it will be easy for us, the future generation, to get identification. But it was hard for us to get identification because there were no proper papers for them to settle here in Kenya. And plus, the government of Kenya, at the longest period of time, they didn't recognize Nubian as a community of Kenya or even a minority community in Kenya.
Well,
Being born and raised here, by birth, being Kenyan by birth, it's not fair for me to go and swear my allegiance to the country where everything shows that I was born and raised here. Plus, my generation have been here. It's not a good picture for us because majority of us feel like we are abandoned, not part of this community, and it's not good. If the government can accept us now, because we've lived here for more than generations now, if they can accept us and give us an easy way out and have a better representation in the government, it will be easy for us to live a comfortable life in this country.
yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us about Kisumu when the president's visit Nyanza and the egg scenario. What happened?
I didn't have the privilege of living it, but from what I read from history, that's why it turned ugly. But what I love about the Luo people, despite challenges, they're very welcoming people. They're very welcoming people. They can be morbid in terms of how, as a unit, they can be very difficult. But also, it didn't help the fact that Tom Mboya also died under not very clear circumstances. So, that was a tipping over of the issues at that time, because with his death, the Luos felt targeted. And also because, though, Tom Mboya was a right-hand man for Kenyatta, and actually was at some point used to fight Oginga. It's actually recorded. So I feel Kisumu has come a long way, but the Luos are fiercely loyal. If you treat them well, they will treat you well. And I'm happy because somewhat, we almost got to a point where there was a reconciliation sense in 2022. There was a national holiday where Uhuru went to Kisumu. And I think that's the best holiday we've enjoyed, where the president danced to a song. He was so enamored that he really loved and stood up and danced and enjoyed. The Luos welcomed him and were happy. And then he tried to say, we need to build a country together. I think for me, 1969 was a very bad example, but I'm happy Uhuru tried his best, despite the challenges that he had as a person and what we make of his leadership. He tried to reconcile these two communities. And for me, I almost thought we had the opportunity, but we lost it. However, you saw the Luo people are welcoming again. President Ruto was in Nyanza and they didn't throw stones at him.
We have so many celebrated Kenyan authors, from Mejamangi, from Gugu wa Thiong'o, from Margaret Ogola.
Yeah.
All these fantastic works. No filmmaker has made these into a movie. But you go to Ghana, you go to Nigeria, go to South Africa, go to America, and you'll find all their main books have been made into movies. And we say we want to produce books and film, but we have all the content here. We don't need to, as you said, copy someone else's stuff outside, right?
Yeah.
So that's another reason why I advocate and do cross-media myself.
Yeah.
As in, we should be producing all these things for the different mediums.
Yeah.
Like if someone wants to do The River and the Source as a movie, the same way that we'll watch these Black American movies about slavery or civil rights struggle, that will be a classic.
And remember, all these books are domiciled at the Kenya National Library Service. Remember, each and every author is supposed to deposit 2 copies of their books at the Kenya National Library Service for posterity purposes. And it's a good thing for you to ensure that those books are kept there for future references. But also, the Kenya National Library Service, who are our partners on this podcast, have been gracious enough and has given us a lot of support in the course of that year. And we are happy to say that we've discovered so much more services that are offered in that space that personally I would say I didn't even have an idea. For example, just realizing that they have a data center, and this is open to the public, and including me and you and those people, the businesses that have huge data sets. Imagine having your servers hosted here locally in Kenya. One of the key things that people are now battling is data security. There is nothing as beautiful as knowing that your data is secure, and especially if you're hosting it in your own country. It's a place you can drive to. It's a place you can visit. It's some place where your technical team can easily conduct their maintenance and security drives to ensure that your data is safe. But above all that, the Kenya National Library Service also has a wide range of services, including being the local custodians of the ISBN number to every author who is writing a new book. You need ISBN, and you can check them out at knls.ac.ke and check out the wide range of services that they offer. I always say this, that the kids section, being my favorite part of that library, is a good place for your kids, and especially now that we are getting into a very long holiday. Check it out and let your kids interact with spaces that can help them grow both intellectually and also increase their knowledge. But also on the show we had very good conversations that touch on our social fabric, and sometimes you'd think that books are very mechanical and they direct you to a particular direction. But from one of the key things I've realized is that books have touched every aspect of our being. And I remember people talking about opening up to the very personal things they've gone through. And some of these conversations would have not been easy to have had it not been introduced to us through books. Have a listen to this.
I wanted to be a pathologist growing up, but my mom refused.
Why did she refuse?
Because I didn't know it was pathology. I told her I want to be a morgue attendant. I only knew about, I wanted to study dead bodies, but I told her I want to wash dead bodies. So she was like, you can't go to school so that you can wash dead bodies. And also the fear and the stigma that comes with someone who works in a morgue. So she said no. And so when I ventured into writing, I didn't have another option. Medicine was my other option.
Growing up, there were a lot of myths regarding people who work in in morgues, and people always believe that they smoke a lot of bang and they are not mentally well.
Yeah.
In your journey seeking to become a pathologist, what was so intriguing that made you want to become one?
Lack of fear of dead bodies. I'm not afraid of dead bodies, but I think my mom motivation to stop that path was the fact that I'm emotional. In as much as I'm not afraid, I will grieve with families I'm not related to. So she thought that will also impede me in that career path.
I'm always very encouraged to know that you went back to school at 30, but also you had a child when you're still young. I think when now you were just almost starting to experience life. How did that affect your life?
Definitely, when you get a child in your 20s, early 20s, it throws you back. Because first of all, now you need to work on the basics. That is food, accommodation, clothing. And it's not easy because you're not employed. You're still trying to find your footing in the world. Yes. So it comes with a lot of, I wouldn't say baggage per se, but it throws you back. Yes. And taking off from there, it requires a lot of willpower and very strong mindset.
I think we need to celebrate the fact that you had a first-class honors and you're going now. You have a full scholarship to the University of Cambridge. But where are the other girls you were with at that age?
I'll say that everybody chooses their path. For me, education, that is study, has always been at the core of my everything despite distractions. And because I love equality, I love being part of the people who are driving the sustainable development agenda, and I want to see a more equitable world, I felt like if I don't play a role in ensuring that the world becomes a better place, then I'll become statistics. So I didn't want to be statistics in terms of people who are not able to reach their full potential. So that's why I kept on pushing myself despite the life distractions.
Did you think you'll come this far?
Yes, imagination. Einstein always says imagination is better than knowledge. So my imagination kept me going on because I believe that one day I'm going to go back to school. It doesn't matter when. It took me 10 years to go back to school to start with a diploma, but I didn't give up. Yes.
How would you define your relationship with food?
Honestly, I've had a hate-love relationship with food for a very long time. Remember, I went to a boarding school where we were eating food that has been flavored with weevils. So I hated food at that time.
And
like
paraffin. I used to hear they had to put paraffin.
They used to put paraffin to
to
lower
cut-
libido. Like I'm
curtail.
like, why are you lowering libido in an all girls school? Like, and we are going nowhere. Like, we don't have funkies. We're just in school.
You might cannibalize
With
the young ones.
So I really hated food at that time. Ugali haijaiva. Like, it was just a bad experience with food. And you could even see the results. Because you're coming from holiday, you come to school, umenona. Your skirt fits well. By the time you're getting to visiting day, you're almost holding a skirt
Yeah,
with
you can
a
put
belt.
a pillow.
Yes, so that you can fit in, kwa sababu hukuli. And even the food you're eating is okay. I can't say that we had an issue with food not being enough. We used to have enough food, but the fact that it used to, we used even to call the vegetables and ugali we ate bitter herbs. Last supper.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just horrible food.
And concrete.
So people used to sneak in. We used to call it tieni.
Yeah.
So they used to sneak in. So it's what is it called?
Sweet
Tungu,
potato?
onions.
Oh,
Onions
onions
that have been fried
Yes.
to a crisp,
Yeah.
and then added spices so that you can spice it a bit on your food.
Yeah.
But now, since it was
in Latin,
illegal,
it's called sablenya.
in Latin. So because it used to be illegal, I went to a school where we didn't even have a tuck shop.
Yeah.
So because it used to be illegal, we used to call it agoses, based on the book we were reading at the time, Merchant of Venice, where they were shipping agoses. So you'd ask someone if they have agoses, and then you'd share it out. So it was really interesting.
Yeah.
But then after that, once I started finding ways that people are actually going out of their way to improve the nutrition of food, I became very experimental with my food, and I'm loving it. Right now, I love food so much.
You used to see your aunt come and you're like, wow, dollars, euros are here.
Euros, yes.
Today you're in that position. You're that auntie.
I'm that auntie, yes.
When you come back and we see, oh, euros,
Yeah.
thank God.
She's
Is
here.
Is there something you wish people would understand, especially to people, we call them returnees, people who are coming back home or people who are just visiting, that most of the time is mistaken or it's misconceptualized?
Yes. Just to understand that the people there struggle a lot. It's not the same struggle we have, let me say, back home. They have other different types of struggle that they have to take to even be able to give you 10 euros. It's not just like you can ask for it and it's there. Just to understand that the struggle behind them being able to support even with a euro, it's really a lot. And to earn that euro in Germany, it takes a lot. It's not just easy as thought. And the misconception is like people think when you go there or arrive there, you have access to bunch of money. No, you don't have the access to that. And it takes a lot. And when you hear people go there and they have taken 10 years without coming back, don't judge them.
Yeah.
There's something behind them not even coming back. Maybe they can't even afford the flight because the money they're earning is not enough to even afford the flight. So don't judge the majuni ati kuna pesa. Pesa iko, but to get that pesa, it takes maybe a lot than.
But there's also always an expectation that when you come back, you'll carry a few of us in your suitcases and go with us.
Yeah, not possible. Yeah, I know that. I'm from a big family and everybody so unanibeba kwa suitcase yako tuende. Ama uniite nikuje kwa maid, you are as like
I can even work in your house.
Yes, not possible. You can't even have a maid without registering.
But what is it that you can say that you hope will help somebody understand to just relent slightly on that pressure that they put on their relatives who are in the foreign land?
to know that I think like a German system is too systematized that you don't have a chance to fit in outside the system. So when you come from Kenya, you know, like naweza enda kwa bank niongee na ule na nifanyie. That doesn't happen in German. You can't just go to tell them nifanyie. It's
ATM yangu.
It's too system, like the moment you enter into the German system wanajua huko. Kenya doesn't know I'm in Kenya right now. The government doesn't know I am here. The moment you enter into the system wanajua huko, unless you fanya nini ndio. So and that makes it hard to do things outside the system. Mtoto akizaliwa unatumiwa nini na barua kutoka kwa minister wa hiyo village yako, welcome. Welcome to the world and welcome to this country.
Is it because the children are very few or what?
No, but it's systematized. Huyo daktari mwenye amekuzalisha has to sign something, ataandika apeane jina ya mtoto somewhere. And after you coming from home with your child, unapata barua, welcome Kenton to the world. We appreciate you. If you reach at the age of 3, you can go to this and this kindergarten. It's near your place. At the age of 6, you can go to this school. It's near. It's in the area. So they are already planned.
That one is an equal to who now in Kenya? Who is writing for me that?
That's equal to a Maya, like niseme.
An MCA.
MCA, exactly. Like nani mkubwa hii Westlands, umezaliwa mtoto sasa hapa. Huyo atakuandikia. Huyo barua comes from that office. Welcome.
What if you live in Westlands but your preferred hospital was in Eastlands?
You are registered in Westlands and that's your home. Like your registration is always your home. That's why they say, okay, you can zalia mtoto wako Siaya, but here is where then your home
MCA
is.
wetu wa huku lazima ataniambia karibu.
Ni atakwambia karibu, mtoto karibu. And that's why ni kuambia tu watu it's hard to say, okay, nibebe kwa mzigo twende. Hey, unafikira hata tutafika?
Nikae hapo kwa engineer ndege mahali.
No, we won't get even there. When you get there, everything is set. Like, niseme, niko kwa nyumba, I have 2 rooms, and I rented the house with my name. For me to allow you as a friend, when I say, Mike anaweza taka tuishi naye kwa nyumba, tunaishi, niko na room naweza mpea moja. It doesn't happen illegally. You are not allowed to stay there without the owner of the house knowing that person is there. And maybe come visit, yes, but after more than 3 months ni mtu anaishi hapo, so you have to register it officially. And huyo mtu wa nyumba akishajua, it's already registered in the kwa MCO, like tuko na mgeni mpya kwa village yetu, haya
wakuja wanisalimia.
Like ndio. So they have to have that number already. Ule umetoka Siaya sasa unaishi Nairobi. It's there. Like it's too much systematized that the way we think here, unafikiria unaweza kuja tu tukae tuchill, ama nikuje tu nikuwe maid ameregister, nikiandika maid mpaka niseme niko na maid kwa nyumba yangu na nimemwandika aje na namlipa aje. Like you have to do it officially, or else you're doing a black, you supporting the black job system, which can lead you to going to jail.
Yeah, and to be very honest, sometimes you really appreciate the depth that the books take us to, because the patience with which authors take time to just document their thoughts, it helps you relive some of those moments and just push your imaginative ideas and imaginative thought processes, helping you to just marvel at how much wisdom are domiciled in some of the book. And actually, one of the books that I have here on my shelf, Why Nations Fail, has won the 2024 Economics Nobel Prize. And the authors, Daron and Robinson, were awarded. And actually, this book was published for the very first time in 2012. I think so, if I'm not wrong. It was published in 2012. And it's amazing to see that 12 years later, a book that was published and released as a tool for communication wins a Nobel Prize. And I think the Nobel Prize Secretariat cited the research, the extensive research that the authors did to just have a comparative analysis of why certain countries succeed and why certain countries fail economically. And that whole discussion is also something that we've had here on What's on Your Shelf. And is it your next read? But have a listen to this.
I think it has given comparison to neighborhoods of how a certain neighborhood is doing well, why not. For example, now let me give you the example of Kibra and Karen. Kibra is a slum, Karen is a high-end area. That's one of the things that shows that a nation is failing. It's one country, but people living differently, not far from each other. Muthaiga and Mathare, next to each other, people are languishing in poverty, and people are thriving. And it's on plain sight. We can do something about it, but you don't want to do something about it. And instead of uplifting your neighbors, you don't want to uplift them. You don't want them to be poor, and the other people want to be rich. So it's how resources are allocated, it's how we put our own priorities. So this book talks about why some are thriving, why some are failing. If you look at Scandinavian countries, they are very particular in how they prioritize their resources, or how they allocate their resources. That's why you see countries like Denmark, they are paying you to go to university. You are paid to go to class. Here, we can't even afford to go to classes. Some people can't afford to go to classes. Other countries are paying you. Umemaliza high school, I'm paying you $1,000, $2,000 uende kusoma. It's incentivizing education because they know what education does. But here in Kenya or in Africa is vice versa. And why? It is, we are textbook thinkers. When I say textbook thinkers, is all our thinking revolves around what other people are doing it. We are not thinking it for ourselves. What works for us? Yes, we are in the global world. We are part of the world. But how we act and how we do things should be different. Yeah, we need to borrow things from other people, but how we apply it, how we use it, might conform with who we are. Exactly. How can we raise the living standard of Kibra, people in Kibra? How can we raise the living standard of our people in Mathare and other slums? That's how we need to think. So as we are waiting for NGOs and other people to do the work for us, and NGOs will never solve anyone's problem. They are not there to solve our problem. Our problem must be solved by our own people, by ourselves. And that is what this book talks about. It gives comparison of how some neighborhoods have good living standard and other, in languishing in poverty. And it is plain sight. Unaiona, but nauoni. You can see it, but you don't want to see it.
Yes.
God give us brain, the eyes, but the eyes, we are not using it.
Yeah.
So vision is about actualizing. How can we see better? How can we make Kibra and other places better? Yes, Uhuru tried and started to do housing. So Uhuru now, Ruto is doing housing. Housing for whom? Who is he building the houses? Houses should be built for other people. It's Kibra that we are supposed to have high rises. We need to uplift those people. We need to do the same thing for Mathare and other slums, Mukuru and everything. That's where we need to have high rises and uplifting the living standard of those people.
Yeah.
And for us to do that is we need to increase the purchasing power in Kenya. For us to do that, we need to increase employment for our people in Kenya, not sending them outside Kenya. So how can we increase, how can we grow the employment base in Kenya? That's it. How can Nuria employ more people? How can another bank employ more people? That's, I think, the discussion we need to be having. How can we create internal employment, more employment, so that how can we raise the minimum wage in Kenya? How can we pay each other fast? because we don't pay each other first. We need to be paying each other first. How there are some countries where people pay bills and everything every week. Wages are paid weekly. Rents are paid weekly. I think so. Bills are paid weekly. How can we have that? How can we increase? What is it called? No. How can we work 24 hours? Nairobi should be working 24 hours. How can we do that? What are the factors that will help us do that? How can we lay the foundation for 24 hours economy in major towns? Okay. By doing that, we are introducing 1 or 2 shifts into the market. So when Nuria opens 24 hours, I will employ 1 or 2 more
people
here
Yeah.
working. Nuria is open for 24 hours. That means banks will be opening till 10. Banks will open it. Huduma Center will be opening on Monday to Sunday. Why? Who told us that we should work from Monday to Friday? Who told us that we should work from Monday to Friday? What is stopping us from working from Monday to Sunday? If you want to go to church or mosque, go to church, Sally, Rudy. Go to...
Ama wewe siku yako ya kuenda.
Ya kuenda. No, it's not mass. Me, I believe that we should pray for a few hours and that's it. Spirituality is personal. We shouldn't dedicate religion to a whole day and waste a whole day. Go pray for 2 hours, 3 hours, go back to work. We build, because we need to catch up with the rest of the world. We are way behind in terms of technology. People are flying to space. We don't even know how to make a rocket. Leave of flying it. We don't have our own space shuttles. We don't have our own satellite. Bro, tuko nyuma. We are way behind of, talking about tribe and religion and word. Tuko nyuma. So, and our life on this planet is very short. I will be dead by maybe 2080, 2090. I'm dead. We'll all be dead by 20, all of us who are in this room, by 2050, or no, 2120. The next century, by the time is 2 decades old, next century, this water tutawapa. I don't know how Kenya will look like in the next 5,000 years ago, 5,000 years to come. By 25th century, I don't know how Kenya it is, what it is. We don't know. So, us, what we need to do is we need to create the next generation to have a better platform, to be well equipped in knowledge and resources.
Nuria have been graceful enough to us on this podcast. They've enabled us. They've given us a lot of book giveaways that we've shared with most of our listeners and viewers who've answered some of our trivia questions correctly. So check them out, and they are not the best for no reason. Currently, there are more than 1,300 titles by our local authors that are domiciled there, and that's why they say they are the home of African books. But also, that also allowed us to speak with some amazing authors who've shared with us very great insights. And I remember sitting with Jacob Aliet, where he opened us up to that masculinity conversations to a level that I don't think we had on the show, and him just also having a wide range of knowledgeable conversations, and sharing with us his wisdom on a wide range of topics. And his book, Unplugged, that is going to be a gift on today's episode, has been one of the best-selling books of 2023-2024. But here is part of what we had to speak about with Jacob. What is the role of a father when you're looking at it?
The role of a father particularly, there of course the what we call the 3 Ps: parenting, provisioning, and leadership. Okay? So now, for the boy child, the role of a father is to set a good example, particularly in terms of structure and discipline. How you run your business. Do you work hard? Do you wake up early? Are you clean? How do you speak to people? Are you confident, or you are a shy person? How do you deal with conflict? That is very important for a son to watch, to see, because it's not something you learn from theory. And children who don't have fathers, they struggle with that. they wonder what it means to be a father. So, and also for the wife, you need to provide leadership and you need to provide provisioning for her. At least if you have a wife who is willing to be led. Sometimes you have women who feel they don't need to be led by a man. But what you see is women are very good at judging people's character and energy, but they're not very good with foresight. And men are able to do that. Women live in the present a lot. And that is why the leadership of men will become very, very useful. You'll find that, for example, a woman can get divorced and get a lot of inheritance from the husband, or the husband dies. Then she gets a man who is a swindler, and this guy chews all this money, the businesses are run down, and so on and so forth. So many times, and that's why even when a woman is picking someone to marry, it's very important to involve your father, or at least a father figure. When a man looks at another man, he can easily tell this guy is fake, okay? But a woman cannot do that. Women are not able to do that because they think emotionally. Maybe he's tall, dark, and handsome. He has dimples, okay? Or he's very good in bed. Those are the things that will be guiding her. She'll be looking at the height. She doesn't know that height has no value when the marriage starts. So when you present this man to a father, to your father figure, and tell them, this is the man I want to marry, when this guy engages him, he'll be able to tell you whether this is the right man or whether he is not.
We're also living at a season, Jacob, where there are a lot of absent fathers. And as much as sometimes we would point a finger at the single woman, that single woman had an affair with somebody or a relationship with somebody who ended up pregnant. What do you think has contributed to that absenteeism of the male parent?
There are many. By the way, one thing I have to say, the fact that you live with your wife and your children does not mean those children have a present father.
Yeah.
There are many men who are exiled from playing their roles by their wives. Women have also become very masculine. And many men been raised such that they don't like having disagreements or arguments with their wives. So they let their wives run the show. That happens a lot. Also, the women have not been taught to appreciate men. That is a big problem we are having. And many women think they can do everything, including raising boys and raising sons. So you'll find you want to even take your son for a walk. But the mother says, no, that place is too far. You cannot walk all that distance. You see? But you know when you are a child, you walked even 10 times that distance and you are fine. But the modern woman, because she has a voice, she will not let you even raise your son. She'll tell you, no, you will not torture my son like that, and so on. And then women don't realize that masculinity actually grows from adversity. And this is something you find throughout history. If you look at the story of Jesus has to die before he becomes Christ. And men normally say no pain, no gain. This is a concept women don't understand. Even if you look at the story of Superwoman is strong. She doesn't have muscles. There is no way you're going to be strong without muscles. Women don't understand that. Men know that for you to be strong, you have to train. And when you train, your body changes. Your body will not remain the same. A guy who lifts weights and a guy who does not lift weights, they don't have the same body. And you'll be able to tell. Those are things women don't understand. And that's one thing that women do a disservice to masculinity. They don't understand masculinity. Them, they are born with value. They think men can also just become valuable by just being there. And that's not possible. So that's a challenge we are having. We are finding men who are very weak. Women encourage men to become emotional. And a man who is emotional is also very dangerous because he gets angry, he becomes depressed, he can lose hope very fast. He's driven by his own emotions, not logic. And that is where now we had these African rituals that we had for the rites of passage that involve separating the children from their mothers were very, very important because the men were able then to teach these boys not to listen to their emotions, but to do what is important, focus on the mission. So those are some of the things that women don't understand that men may be in a better position to understand. But because of the way we are cultured now, women are told, and they say all the time, what a man can do,
A woman can do better.
yeah, that's a problem.
When women start to access resources and they become rich, they also become very polygamous in nature. I don't know whether you've noticed that, like in the past, it used to be like it's men who are cheating, but right now we are at par. If men are cheating, if male cheating is at 40%, women are also at 40% because they also can access resources. They don't have to be chained, because what normally chains a woman to a man 90% of the time is resources. But now they have their own resources, which means they can have multiple partners. Yeah. So when you talk about polygamy, especially in an environment like the one we exist in, men are slightly disadvantaged. Unless like you are in the top quartile, you are either rich or you're talented, or you have like some exceptional looks or some exceptional talents that a woman would like. But if you're just an ordinary Joe out here, then you can't beat your chest like you are polygamous by nature.
I feel advantaged that I have to sit with these people week in, week out to understand to the best of my ability what they bring to us, go through their shelves and interact with the books they've read, from chefs to doctors to nurses to people who are working in garbage collection, you know, and what a beautiful cocktail of stories and interactions we've had. And that surely brings us to the end of this first section. Continue to journey with us next week. We'll also be journeying through other stories like this, as we'll be reliving some of these moments to just ask ourselves, what conversations have we had in the course of this podcast, What's on Your Shelf? But also, just a polite reminder to ask you who've not subscribed, please subscribe. And for a chance for you to win Jacob Aliet's book, and I want to ask you once again, what is it that Jacob Aliet said that stood out for you? And I feel like the amount of people we interacted with after that episode pointed us to a place of some of the conversations we need to have as a society. And one of the things I would say I learned, that masculinity is not about being male, but it's us interacting with what makes you who you are. And it's not a gender fight of us versus them, this gender versus that gender. But it's a nice place for us to re-examine what and who we are as a people, to be able to effectively be effective to the communities that we come from and to the people that we serve. This marks the end of our show today. Thank you so much for journeying with me to the very end. Thank you so much. What is it that has also stood out for you, and who would you say has been the most outstanding or the most outstanding conversation on this one that we've had today? Thank you so much for journeying with me to the very end. See you again next week for another amazing What's on Your Shelf. I've been your host, Mulure Mike. Thanks to our supporters, Nuria Bookstore and KNLS. Until next week, have a good one.